It's a quiet moment most people don't think twice about: a signature on a lease, a signature on a mortgage. Two simple actions that feel almost identical in the moment, yet can quietly shape the next 20 years of someone's life. Now imagine two people who look almost identical on paper. They're the same age. They live in the same city. Each earns an $80,000 salary. Each has managed to save $70,000. The only major difference between them is one financial decision. One signs the paperwork to buy a house. The other renews a lease and keeps renting. Fast forward 20 years, and both have built significant wealth, but in very different ways. One owns a home with years of equity behind it. The other has an investment portfolio that surprises almost everyone. So, which decision actually came out ahead? The truth is, this debate is usually presented the wrong way. Homeownership advocates point to decades of appreciation. Renting advocates highlight flexibility and investing the difference. But both sides often leave out critical pieces of the puzzle. To compare these choices fairly, you have to include everything: closing costs, years of mortgage payments that are mostly interest, rising property taxes, unexpected maintenance, and perhaps the biggest missing piece of all: what happens if the renter consistently invests every dollar they save instead of spending it? That's exactly what we're going to calculate. No marketing, no emotional arguments, just realistic numbers, long-term thinking, and a fair comparison that follows both paths all the way through. Because once you see the complete picture, the answer becomes far more surprising than most people expect. Before either person builds wealth, one of them makes a surprisingly expensive mistake on day one, and almost nobody includes it in the rent versus buy conversation. Let's put real people into this comparison. Meet Jake and Marcus. They're both 32 years old. They earn the same salary. They've each saved $70,000 after years of disciplined work. A 3-bedroom home in their city costs $350,000. Jake decides to buy. He puts down his entire savings as a 20% down payment, avoiding private mortgage insurance. His monthly mortgage payment is about $1,900. Add roughly $300 for property taxes, $150 for homeowners insurance, and another $300 set aside for maintenance and repairs, and his total monthly housing cost reaches about $2,650. Marcus chooses a different path. He rents a similar home nearby for around $2,000 a month. Instead of using his savings for a down payment, he invests the full $70,000 into a low-cost total market index fund. Every month, he also invests the difference between his rent and Jake's total housing costs. At first glance, Marcus appears to have found the better deal. He's living in a similar home, paying less each month, while his investments continue growing. But here's the detail most rent versus buy comparisons leave out. The moment Jake signs the paperwork, he isn't financially ahead. He actually starts behind. Buying a home comes with thousands of dollars in closing costs, lender fees, title insurance, legal paperwork, escrow funding, prepaid taxes, and other expenses. None of those costs build equity. They simply buy you the opportunity to own the home. Before Jake earns a single dollar from appreciation, he first has to recover those upfront costs. And that changes the math far more than most buyers realize. But the biggest surprise hasn't happened yet, because during the first year, most of Jake's mortgage payment isn't buying his house at all. The phrase "every mortgage payment builds equity" sounds convincing. The problem is, it isn't completely true, at least not in the beginning. During the first year of a typical 30-year mortgage, most of every monthly payment doesn't reduce the loan balance. It goes toward interest. Imagine Jake's mortgage payment. Most people assume nearly all of it is buying a larger share of his home each month. In reality, only a small portion reduces what he owes. The rest is simply the cost of borrowing money from the bank. Add property taxes, homeowners insurance, and regular maintenance, and thousands of dollars leave his account every month without creating additional ownership. That isn't a flaw in homeownership. It's simply how mortgages work. Now compare that to Marcus. His monthly rent is lower. Yes, rent doesn't build equity, but during these early years, Jake also has significant housing costs that don't increase his ownership. That's why saying rent is throwing money away only tells half the story. Both housing choices come with unavoidable expenses. The difference is where those costs appear. 3 years later, both men have settled into their routines. Jake has reduced part of his mortgage and benefited from modest home appreciation. His equity has grown, but much of it remains locked inside the house. Marcus has continued investing every month without interruption. His portfolio has quietly compounded over time. On paper, both have built wealth. The surprising part is that after only 3 years, their financial positions are much closer than most people would expect, and one of them now has an advantage that rarely enters the conversation. That advantage isn't higher returns or lower expenses, it's liquidity. And it completely changes the way you should compare renting and buying. 3 years have passed, Jake has built real equity in his home, the property has appreciated, and each mortgage payment has slowly reduced his loan balance. On paper, his wealth is growing, But there's a hidden constraint behind that number: liquidity. Marcus has it. Jake doesn't. Marcus's investment account has continued growing through market returns and consistent monthly contributions. If an emergency or opportunity appears, he can usually access part of his portfolio within a few business days. Jake's situation is different. Most of his wealth is locked inside his home. To access it, he would need to sell the property, refinance, or borrow against it. None of those options are immediate, and all come with costs and extra steps. That's one of the most overlooked differences in the rent versus buy debate. Of course, liquidity isn't free. Market investments fluctuate. Home values fluctuate too. The question isn't whether the value exists. It's how quickly that value can become usable cash when life demands it. That changes how wealth feels in everyday life. One person can respond immediately to an opportunity or unexpected expense. The other may have to wait, plan, and unlock money they already own. And that leads to another cost. Many people forget the cost of leaving. When Jake eventually sells his home, he'll likely pay thousands in agent commissions, legal fees, and closing costs. Those expenses reduce his real return, yet they're often ignored when people compare renting and buying. A fair comparison counts every dollar going in and every dollar coming out. Otherwise, you're not comparing two strategies. You're comparing two incomplete pictures. But selling costs are only part of the story. The next expense is guaranteed to arrive, impossible to avoid, and quietly grows bigger almost every single year. Owning a home doesn't stop costing money once you receive the keys. In many ways, that's when Jake first realizes the real expenses begin. At first, everything feels predictable. His mortgage is stable, and Marcus continues renting without major surprises. Jake even feels like he's ahead. Then the hidden costs begin to appear. Every year, property taxes quietly rise as his home's value increases. The changes seem small at first, but over time they become a permanent addition to his monthly costs. Marcus sees rent increases too, but he also has the freedom to move if the price no longer makes sense. Maintenance follows the same pattern. In Jake's third year, it's a leaking faucet, a few gallons of paint, and replacing smoke detector batteries. He barely notices. By year 7, a storm damages part of his roof. The repair costs thousands of dollars. Marcus hears about it over coffee and can't help wondering what that same money might have become if it had remained invested. Later, he quietly increases his automatic monthly investment, letting compound growth continue working in the background. A few years later, Jake's air conditioning system fails. Another unexpected expense, another withdrawal from savings. The pattern is becoming familiar. Something breaks and money leaves. Then comes the hidden cost no receipt ever shows. Opportunity cost. Jake's $70,000 down payment stopped compounding in the market the day he bought the house, while Marcus's investments continued growing year after year. Neither path is perfect. Every financial decision chooses what you gain and what you give up, because every dollar committed to one path can no longer grow in another. By the 10th year, the numbers begin shifting dramatically. And for the first time, one strategy starts gaining an advantage that becomes difficult to ignore. 10 years have passed. For the first few years, the comparison between Jake and Marcus stayed surprisingly close. Now the picture begins to change. Jake's home has appreciated steadily, and each mortgage payment has reduced a little more of his loan balance. After a decade, that slow progress has grown into meaningful equity. One morning, Jake glances at his mortgage statement and notices something he never appreciated before. His payment hasn't changed, yet groceries, insurance, and rent throughout his neighborhood have all become more expensive. For the first time, he realizes the quiet value of predictability. Marcus, meanwhile, hasn't been standing still. His original investment has continued compounding year after year. Combined with consistent monthly contributions, it has grown into a sizable portfolio. On paper, Marcus still holds a slight advantage in liquid net worth, but something important has changed. His rent hasn't stayed the same. Every lease renewal has brought another increase, small at first, then gradually more noticeable. After 10 years, his monthly rent is approaching what Jake pays to own his home. That's one of the biggest long-term advantages of buying with a fixed-rate mortgage. While many living expenses continue rising with inflation, Jake's largest monthly payment remains predictable, bringing a level of financial stability renters rarely enjoy. As Marcus's rent climbs, the gap that once allowed him to invest hundreds of extra dollars each month begins to shrink. The race isn't over, but the rules of the race are beginning to change. Time is no longer helping both strategies equally, it's starting to favor one of them. Another 10 years completely transforms the comparison, And the biggest difference isn't how much wealth they've built, but what each person's future monthly expenses look like. Another decade passes. Now it's been 20 years since Jake bought his home and Marcus chose to rent. At first glance, both decisions look successful. Jake's home has appreciated significantly, and after 2 decades of mortgage payments, he has built hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. One quiet Sunday morning, he opens his mortgage statement like he has for years. This time, something feels different. The remaining balance is finally small enough that he can clearly see the finish line. He pauses, sets the statement down with a small smile, and realizes the house no longer feels like something he's endlessly paying for. It feels like something he's almost finished owning. Marcus has also done remarkably well. His investments have compounded through market ups and downs, growing into an impressive liquid portfolio. But he notices a different pattern. Another lease renewal arrives. The rent has increased again. It isn't surprising anymore, but this time he quietly lowers his monthly investment contribution to make room for the higher payment. Interestingly, their total net worth is still surprisingly close. Marcus may even hold a slight lead on paper, but the comparison has changed. Jake's largest housing payment has remained largely predictable. Marcus's has continued climbing. The advantage that once let him invest hundreds of extra dollars each month has gradually faded. As retirement approaches, one housing budget becomes smaller. The other keeps growing. That's why long-term housing decisions aren't just about building wealth, they're about controlling future expenses. Because wealth isn't measured only by what you own, it's also measured by what you no longer have to pay. By now, the numbers reveal something many people overlook. The renting strategy can absolutely build significant wealth, but it only works under one condition. You have to invest the savings every single month, not occasionally. Not when the market feels safe. Every month. That sounds simple. In reality, it's incredibly difficult. When housing costs are lower, it's tempting to spend the extra money instead. A nicer apartment, a newer car, more vacations, or a premium phone plan upgraded just this once. Over time, those small choices quietly consume the money that was supposed to be invested. That's why so many renters never achieve the results shown in financial calculators. The math assumes perfect discipline. Real life rarely does. Jake's path is different. Every mortgage payment builds equity whether he feels motivated or not. His home becomes a form of automatic saving, making it much harder to spend that money impulsively. Looking back after 20 years, the difference becomes clear. Marcus didn't fall short because renting was a bad strategy. He gradually drifted away from the plan as the extra money became lifestyle upgrades instead of investments. Jake didn't come out ahead because buying was automatically superior. He benefited because his system removed part of the temptation to choose differently. Neither strategy guarantees success. Homeowners still face repairs and unexpected costs. The difference isn't the house. The difference is behavior. A brilliant financial plan won't outperform an average plan that's followed consistently because money grows where consistency lives. So, after comparing decades of numbers, is buying a home the smarter choice? Or does renting and investing come out ahead? The honest answer is simple. It depends less on the strategy and more on your circumstances. Imagine standing at a fork in the road. One path begins with house keys and a mortgage. The other starts with a lease agreement and an investment account. Both can lead to financial success. They simply lead there in different ways. Buying often makes the most sense if you plan to stay in one place for many years. Time allows you to recover closing costs, build equity, and benefit from a fixed mortgage while prices around you continue rising. Renting can be the better choice when your career requires flexibility or when home prices are unusually high compared to rent. But that advantage only exists if you consistently invest the savings instead of spending them. Likewise, buying without preparing for maintenance, repairs, taxes, and other ownership costs can create unnecessary financial pressure. Neither path is automatically right, neither path is automatically wrong. Both demand commitment, both reward patience. Perhaps the biggest mistake isn't choosing to rent or choosing to buy. It's making either decision without fully understanding the trade-offs. The goal isn't to prove one strategy wins. It's to choose the one that fits your lifestyle, your timeline, and your ability to stay consistent through changing circumstances. Because financial success isn't created by one perfect decision. It's created by following the right plan for you, year after year. One final insight ties this entire comparison together, and it may permanently change the way you think about both renting and buying. After following Jake and Marcus for 20 years, one thing becomes clear. This was never a competition between renting and buying. It was a lesson in understanding trade-offs. Buying a home often rewards people who plan to stay in one place for many years, value predictable housing costs, and are prepared for the responsibilities of ownership. Over time, a fixed mortgage can become a powerful advantage as rents continue rising. Renting, however, is far from throwing money away. For someone who values flexibility, lives in an expensive housing market, or expects to relocate, renting can be the stronger financial choice, provided the savings are invested consistently instead of disappearing through lifestyle inflation. That's the key. Neither strategy creates wealth on its own. Your habits do. The market doesn't reward intentions. It rewards consistency. A mortgage doesn't guarantee financial security. An investment account doesn't guarantee financial freedom. Both succeed only when supported by disciplined decisions repeated month after month, year after year. So before asking whether you should rent or buy, ask yourself two more important questions. How long am I realistically planning to stay? And if I choose to rent, will I truly invest the difference every single month, even when it's difficult? Those answers will shape your financial future far more than any headline or market trend. The smartest financial decision isn't the one that works best on average. It's the one you'll have the discipline to follow for decades. Wealth isn't built by choosing the perfect strategy once. It's built by choosing a good strategy and staying committed to it long after the excitement has faded.